Welcome to the Call to Courage podcast. I'm Gareth Pickering, and my guest today is Carlo Staub. How are you, brother?
I'm well. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me today.
So good to have you here. It's the first interview that we're doing in this configuration. The last one we did was standing. So, yeah, I appreciate you being here, bro. And for taking the time. I know you headed off on some travels in the next couple of days. So, appreciate you finding a bit of time to drop in with us and to connect. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for creating this platform to share and to allow people to be open and vulnerable with their stories.
You're welcome, man. It's a gift. I'm really grateful to be doing this. So, perhaps share a little bit of your origin story of the various roles you've played as a father, son, and brother.
Various roles as father, son, or brother. At different points in my life. I guess I'll start with brotherhood. For a lot of my, at least growing up, brotherhood was sports. It was being active. It was being in those settings, for better or worse. I think those settings teach us a lot about what it is to come together as a team. But in our modern world, create so many toxic patterns that then as we grow and evolve, we need to relearn. So I think a lot of my path has really been a lot of relearning and how to show up in community, how to show up with brothers, how to show up as a man. Unfortunately, my father passed away when I was really young, so I lacked that strong presence of the masculine in my life for so long, and it's been a process to find people that I really trust, that really embody that strong father figure, that strong masculine role that I can see as a role model, as a teacher. So it's definitely been a journey into all these roles of how to become a man or to become my own man.
Did you have brothers and sisters? Are you?
I have a half brother, and I have two sisters. So it's my brother's almost 10 years younger than me. So in a lot of ways, I feel like I've played a role of showing him a different way as well, that he's always been able to see what I have been doing and how I've been doing it differently. And so he's been a good presence in my life how do I want to show up? How do I want to show my self as a brother, as a role model? And then, I feel like I've always been raised by women and had that presence of the feminine in my life. My sisters have played an important role in keeping me in my heart and keeping me respectful of the feminine.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the other gifts of being raised by a mom and by sisters? Such a strong feminine influence in your life.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day of how in some ways it's been a gift not to have a father figure, when other people share their stories of their fathers being like, this is how it needs to be, son, or a strong energy really coming in and directing their life in those ways where I feel like it's opened me to be my own man, that there hasn't, though it's been difficult with the lack of, that's also created space for me to really follow my own path. And I think with that, especially through my mom, I've always felt so much love on my path, where she just loved me and trusted me on it, and not given not stepped in I think the way that maybe a father or a masculine would, of like, this is how you need to do this. So it's been good, but in that, lots of learning on how to show up in relationship, how to show up for partners, and that I didn't have the examples of. So, like many things, catch-22s.
So it's like if you have a father, you have some blueprint to follow. If you don't have a masculine figure, you've sort of got a blank canvas that you need to figure out for yourself.
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons of both of those.
Yeah, for sure. But also, a canvas to paint my own way. And a lot of who I feel like I've become today has been because I've been able to paint that canvas in my own way and walk my path in the way that's felt true to me.
What are some of the challenges that you have seen on your path without having a blueprint to follow? Like the blank canvas is good, but where do you feel that you might have been challenged or called to step up differently, not having a specific, like a father figure in your life?
I guess like it would be in the form of structure, of being able to structure and routine. I feel like a lot of the way that I've flown has been very flowy, and in that beautiful, but also challenges, and just having having the structure to create something bigger. And I think in these last recent years, like that's what I've been trying to form in myself, a little bit more routine, a little bit more structure, commitment to bigger projects, to grow what I'm creating into something bigger, and not just a day by day or a week by week thing, but actually something that can maybe last generations.
So that takes you to a place around fatherhood. What does that feel like for you in your system? Do you feel like you want to be a dad? Have you been called?
It's been a constant theme. I would love to be a father. It hasn't fully presented itself. In the partnership that I've been in, we've had that discussion, and it's been very much in the forefront, but it hasn't been something that's manifested. It's something that I'm very open to. I feel like it's one thing to be in relation to yourself. It's another thing to be in relation to another person, and then to expand that into a family system, I think is really a mastery, to do that with integrity and to do that in a good way. And so there's something that really excites me about that, of being able to create something and be a part of something that's not just me, or not just you and I, but something that's like, oh, this is we. And still got some years left, so we'll see if fatherhood makes its way into my world. But something that it really touches my heart when I think about it.
When you spoke about sports and competition, you said that there was some toxic stuff that came up around that. Where did that lead? Like, what was that? You said there were some toxic patterns to learn from that. What sports was it? What was that story?
Yeah, I think it really put me off to the competitive nature of it. I think when I was in that, I was able to be in some of my bigger energies, and by the end of it, I just got so sick of what it was, and just the pushing, and really from like the figure roles, like of the more of the coaches. Like, I always loved my teammates and my brothers, but from that coaching role of like it felt like these people that you thought had your back or thought really cared about you, but in the end, like didn't fully embody that energy. And I think it led into a lack of trust into other parts of my life and other roles of having bosses and having to answer to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just the toxic culture of competition. I think competition's good, but it's just really like what's the end of it? Like, what are we trying to get to? So I think for a while it pushed me into like, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm happier by myself. I want to create my own businesses. I want to work by myself. I don't need anybody else. And there's a beauty in that. And, but then also we can create more when we do it together. So again, I think it took away elements of trust and elements of being able to come together to create something bigger that now I'm trying to, as I've found myself as my new individual, trying to come back together into and see like what can I co-create with people and how can I, as I've taken on roles of being that leader and figure, how can I do it with integrity? How can I create a sense of direction and purpose, but not be overbearing or domineering in it?
Mm-hmm. What sports were they?
I played young. I played basketball, baseball, football, and track. But then by the time I was in high school, it was just football and track. And then after I graduated high school, I continued to run, and I started doing more long distance running.
But I can't get you to go for a trail run with me at the moment.
No, every once in a while I'll go for a run over to San Pablo and back. But I got a little bit too competitive into that, and then I had to pull back from that as well. And then it's kind of been a theme in my life where I'll go full force on something, and then I'll need to change the relationship in a big way sometimes, being like, I don't even want to run. But spend a lot of time in the mountains and do a lot of hiking. We still need to get up into the mountains here.
I'm gonna do that with you one day. It's wild that we haven't managed to get that together yet.
Yeah.
What does a bit too competitive mean?
Too competitive? I think it's a place where it loses the enjoyment, where it's no longer play. I mean, it's usually when you describe a sport, we're going to play this sport. And play usually has childlike connotations to it. Uh-huh. And I think when it loses that, it really loses the enjoyment. And it's another thing that I am trying to cultivate back in my life is more play. And I think some of the elements of sports really tarnished that, and just like, no, this is about winning. Right. We're going to score more points than you, or I'm going to be better than you, or I'm going to be faster than you, or how that's carried into other things of like, no, I'm going to do more work than you. I'm going to have better results than right. you, and whether in school or in work, and and how that just takes the element of joy out of it. It's like, why are we doing any of these things if it's not enjoyable?
I feel that there's been a strong competition theme throughout my life. The world that I grew up in was like a really strong masculine culture of competition and driving forward in sports, in business, in life, in competition for resources. And I recognize that in my journey as well. And at the moment I'm actually dancing with the opposite polarity. Like, I feel like in life, specifically for me at the moment around business, I've gone to a space where I've almost like want to keep it at an arm's length because some part of that world represents a version of me that I don't really like, or I haven't quite forgiven myself for, or I acted out of integrity of how I now want to move in the world.
Absolutely.
And it's actually kept me stuck.
Yeah.
It's kept me stuck because, let me say it differently. The way that I'm dancing with it at the moment is I want to take the lessons that I've learned over the last 8 years of being on the road and being on my own personal healing journey and integrating those lessons now back into the work that I'm doing and incorporating business as part of it, but just as alchemy, not specifically as the thing that was me. Like, I'm not that. It's just a way of moving in the world. It's a way of channeling energy and resources. But I think that's one of the things that's actually kept me stuck, is the idea that I don't want to go back to that super competitive world that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
I polarized completely in the opposite direction, and then said I wanted to start a business, but some part of me was fighting going back to being that person. And I'm at the process at the moment of trying to integrate those two pieces. So I feel that competition piece as well. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you said that part of you that maybe you didn't like, or that you haven't completely forgiven, because I feel that as well. Of when we get into those places, then like we pick up behavior patterns that are like, oh, I don't even when I'm not having fun, when I'm not in this place of joy, do like I even enjoy myself? And how can we reclaim some of those parts of us through doing it different, and allowing the business part to be an alchemy, and a part of bringing people together, a part of creating purpose in it, or creating something that other people can benefit from. And I definitely feel that as well. There's some reclamation of those parts, and how can we go back and do it differently to reclaim those younger parts of ourselves.
Talk me through how old were you when your dad transitioned, and what has that journey been like for you?
Well, a couple days ago was 31 years. So he passed away when I was really young. It is really a miracle that my sister and I were even born. He was sick with Crohn's disease most of his life. And he developed cancer at a pretty young age and had many different surgeries and was in and out of remission, and met my mom, who was his nurse, one of the times that he was healing and he was getting better. And they fell in love and had 2 children. And then, he passed away when I was 4 and my sister was 6. So he had a really small window that he was feeling good enough to create in. And so blessed that all came about. But it started young. So and through some experiences in these recent years, really come to that place of realizing that, as a young child, I watched my father slowly die, and then eventually pass away. The day after Christmas, 1991, he was in our home, in a hospice bed, and we sat with him as he transitioned. So I've known grief since a really early stage of my life, and it hasn't been till recently that I've allowed myself to fully experience and sit with those pieces of grief, and now coming to a place where I feel it as a superpower, and a place that when I tap into that vulnerability, how healing it is for myself and for others.
What is that process? How do you find that? What's been supportive for and maybe accessing that grief and being with it?
Yeah, definitely the plant medicine has allowed me to go back and to, see and feel, and let the walls, the barriers down. This past year, I did ISTA twice. That was a really powerful experience to sit with and be with the grief. I feel like in both plant medicine and in the mystery school containers, there's a freedom to feel all of the emotions, all along the spectrum, and through them both, I've been able to, feel the biggest joys, but then also touch into those deepest griefs. And I feel, my time in ISTA was really about grief. It was about being able to cry with that little boy, and then also dance naked and free and open, and be okay with both of them, and realize that you can access both of them simultaneously or back to back, and really dance between them. And really that through our biggest griefs, our deepest sadnesses, is the liberation to our biggest pleasures and our biggest joys.
So you touched on plant medicine, and I know you've had some really beautiful journeys with various plant medicines. Yeah. Share some of those with us. What have you been working with in the past, and what has come up for you? Maybe share some of your journeys with ayahuasca.
Plant medicine has been in my life for, and really psychedelics in general, for the last, I'd say, 6 years, going on 7, and they have been a big part of my healing journey. I'll go back a little bit. I also had a time where I was dealing with digestive issues and was struggling maintaining weight, and felt like I was going down the same path that my dad was going down. And on the journey out of that, it started with yoga and meditation, and really reclaiming my body. But that only was able to take me so far. And in 2016, I was luckily was given some mushrooms, and somebody was like, "Hey, work with these, play with these," and luckily I trusted them, and it was just like, whoa, what?
What setting was that in? Do you take that in a party environment, or is it out in nature?
That was in my apartment in Denver. I was already in a place of so much self-inquiry, and I tried it, and then I was just like, whoa, what are these? Because I had that same feeling of wow, I can go from crying and letting go of some deep emotions that I don't even know what they are, into laughter and joy and pleasure and dancing and just feeling free. And that really has weaved me down the path since then, exploring and then just shedding layers. And it wasn't until I came to San Marcos 4 years ago that I was able to meet with ayahuasca and start working with ayahuasca. But before that, in Denver as well, I was able to find Combo, the frog medicine, because dealing with my health, I felt like there was, I've always felt like there was something within me that needed a cleansing, a purging, so the frog medicine really brought me to that. And then in some of those experiences, ayahuasca became very present, because they come from the same place in the jungle. And Yeah, and then in the last 4 years here in San Marcos, slowly, it's ayahuasca's become the plant medicine of choice that I don't really work with too many others. Still work with some combo. Have worked with Wachuma or San Pedro, but yeah, it's really been ayahuasca that's taken me to another level of cleansing, clearing, rebirthing my body, mind, and spirit. And then I'm about to head to Peru to dive deeper into ayahuasca. I'm going to do a 14-day dieta. So I'll also work with another master plant that you drink every day, and then there'll be some ayahuasca ceremonies, and then those plants work together. But just to bring deeper healing. And I feel like since I stepped off of the path of doing it the way that I thought I needed to do it, it's been one of making choices to heal, and then just following the whispers of healing, and continuing to allow that to really be the guide to how I live my life.
How does you're a Rolfer? What is a Rolfer?
Yeah, Rolfing was a therapy developed by a woman named Ida Rolf. That's why it goes by this name, Rolfing. But it falls under the umbrella of structural integration.
So what else would be in there? Chiropractics?
No, other branches from Ida. So Ida Rolf in the 60s, 70s created Rolfing, and then like many schools, students of hers have come out and created their own. So there's different schools that go by names of like schools of structural integration, or Tom Myers, anatomy trains, and then forget what. But structural integration is kind of the broader umbrella. So integrating, putting the pieces of the structure into an organized fashion. So Ida took the fascial system of the body to another level of like, this is what we need to be paying attention to. This is the organ, the vessel of what's holding our body together. So she created a big frontier in the ability and the understanding of working with the fascial system of the body. So I like to, one of her analogies that I like to use is like an orange, that the orange has its cellulose that is holding all the juices of the orange together, but really the majority of the orange is those juices. And
right.
Just like us, we're mainly water, but we have this fascial system that's holding us together. So that can get strained, that can adapt to how we hold ourselves. So if we're always working on computers, or if we injure ourselves in a way, we can take on these patterns in our fascial system that don't support us. But through manual therapy, through movement therapy with the fascia, we can organize that. And there's a lot of talk with fascia that's like, oh, it needs to be released, or it needs to change in these different ways. But really, the fascia wants to be organized. And when we can better organize ourselves, we can allow our life force to expand. Ida Rolf would say that that gravity really is the therapist, that on this earth, we're on this giant rock that's flying through space, and this force that's holding us here, that really is the strongest force in our world. But since it's fairly constant, it's not something that we think about all the time. But it is what's holding us here and what's keeping life possible. So when we can organize and align ourselves back to this force can start to flow through us rather than work against us. That you think of an old lady or an old person that's really hunched over and doesn't have a lot of life force flowing through them. It's when we can realign ourselves, reorganize ourselves back with this force, that life force, that powerful force of this universe can start to flow through us. And when we're not struggling against it, like somebody that's fighting it, that shows up as life force, as creative energy, as the most powerful forces of our being.
So it's like rearranging the fascia within the body through some process of understanding, listening, manipulation, so that life force flows more easily. And when we're standing or sitting, gravity is actually doing the work to flow life force through us because things are not blocked.
Yeah, and bringing awareness to it, that we need an awareness, we need a map of ourselves in order to spatially relate to this force. And with the help of another, just as kind of like a mirror, they can help us come back to that place. And sometimes, if we have injuries, especially old injuries, there does need to be some more fascial manipulation that many have felt through different types of body work or different types of therapies. Rolfing and structural integration for me has always been a more intelligent way, that there's always been direction behind it that has moved me in a better way. That in the taxonomies of therapies and body work, there's the relaxation taxonomy, which a lot of massage falls under, of like, touch is really important. It feels really good to get touch, and it's nice to have somebody come in and bring a relaxing energy. Mm-hmm. And then there's the fixing taxonomy, that that there's a right way and that somebody else can fix. My shoulder's not working right, like come and fix my shoulder so I can do the thing, so I can be on my computer without pain, so I can play tennis. Mm-hmm. And then there's the holistic taxonomy of really identifying and honoring the being as a whole. And Chinese medicine falls under that, and Rolfing falls under that, and some other modalities also fall under that. But really honoring that, sure, for anatomy purposes, we can like go through your body and give it all kinds of different names and break it down. But you really need a scalpel to actually start to dissect these pieces and turn them into separate pieces rather than one whole piece. And so really honoring the body, the being as complete in itself. But then Rolfing was birthed out of the human potential movement in a time where lots of LSD use was being introduced into society, and there was these thoughts of like, well, what is the potential of the human body, of the being? And if we align ourselves to the biggest forces and allow those forces to flow through us, like what is possible? What are we able to create? What type of consciousness can we evoke? Can we create a better world? Can we create what Ida Rolf would say is a more evolved human? And can we start to move away from the neuroses of our culture that I think in our day and age we're seeing is killing our planet? And she saw what was happening with Freud and Jung and psychotherapy, and saw the beauty of like, okay, can we we're identifying what's wrong in the psyche of man, but she would say that I want to work with what I can get my hands on. And like, I can't, whatever's floating around in your mind and your psyche, I can't fully put my finger on that. Mm-hmm. But that's also being reflected back into your body and into your being, and can can we organize that in a better way, to organize humans in a better way, to organize our society in a better way, and then create change in that way, really from that individual. And I believe it. I since I got Rolfed, my life has changed in so many beautiful ways, and how I've been able to walk on this earth, and the direction that I've had, and really the alignment of what's come into my life, and what my priorities are, and what my morals, and what the mark I want to leave.
What came into your life?
I
Since then, you've said stuff came into your life.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely through plant medicine, more of an earth focused approach to life. This permaculture and wanting to regenerate the actual earth. In my second ayahuasca ceremony here in Guatemala, the medicine told me, is like, if you're going to be here in these lands that you're not native to, you need to work with the earth to be in reciprocity. And then a week after that, a piece of land showed up that was looking for a new steward, and I bought that piece of land, and that was almost 4 years ago, and we've been saving seeds, regenerating the earth, building soil, planting trees, feeding families, all from a place of wanting to find a better direction in this, for myself, in this world, and for this world.
That's been such a wild adventure to watch from the sidelines, as I've seen you, continue to pour life force and attention into that piece of land that you're custodian of at the moment. Do you learn permaculture as you're going? Is it something you were interested in before? How do you get to a place where you know how to build soil and feed families from a piece of land that was once monocrop, coffee only?
Well, I luckily have some really amazing local friends that have helped me from the start, and then it's been learning as I go. So it's doing a permaculture course, it's reading, it's watching videos, it's trial and error, it's just seeing what works and what doesn't, and not trying to do things that are an uphill battle, and that the earth wants to grow stuff. So it's finding what works, and then flowing with that, and really what's abundant, and continuing to plant more of that, and then from that place creating a model, so that then others can take cuttings and can take seeds, and then we can spread the plants from there, and allow others to do the same. But it's been a learn as I go. There's ancestrally, there's farmers in my lineages. My first 6 years of my life, I grew up on an agricultural farm, like a very industrial agricultural farm, corn and soybeans. So I saw and lived in what it is to be in a huge monoculture, and Minnesota as a whole, in the Midwest of the United States as a whole, is a lot of monoculture agriculture. So I feel like I saw that and was like, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something different. That doesn't seem to be working. That doesn't seem to be healthy. Everybody that is living in these environments, especially directly in the farm environments, seem to get really sick, including my dad. And so as it's come along, I really realized that there's been karmic pieces of cleaning up ancestral stuff, and the plant medicine has shown me that of just doing it different, that there is a different way, that our modern industrial agricultural methods aren't sustainable, and they have only been really birthed out of the last, in their current forms, in the last I'd say like the last 50 years of like the heavy use of chemicals, and really post World War II is when there was an excess of nitrogen, and then from that needing to create all these different pesticides and herbicides and toxins that are being dumped and sprayed on this earth by the ton. And
is that something that you link to your dad's illness?
Oh, for sure. It's and especially in the last years, the proof of glyphosate being a toxic chemical that can be found on most of our foods, can be found in most of our waters, can be found in the air in most of these places. And they started spraying that in the early 70s, I believe. So when my dad was about 20 years old, and that was more or less when he started to get sick. So it's when he passed away, it wasn't something that the direct correlations.
We didn't know then, right?
Yeah, we didn't know. Even though if you were on the ground there, it could have been easy to identify of like, why are all these people getting sick? Why are all these people developing interesting cancers and having these autoimmune diseases where there's no true answer for them. And it's interesting to watch these different things where I grew. The city that then I moved to after we left the farm is the home of the Mayo Clinic, which is one of the largest hospital research Western medical systems. And in many ways they do amazing research, but it's very much from a Western medical model. So in this place where people are getting these interesting diseases, then there's also just this Western model to match it, and that's what I ran into for a lot of my life. And then when I started to get sick, I went to that model as well of like, what's happening to me? Like my body feels like it's dissolving as I'm under all this stress from trying to, then I was an accountant. I was trying to work as an accountant, and there was no answers. It was just like, oh, we could give you this medicine, or, it's this and that. And I was, really disenchanted by that whole process and felt abandoned by it. So it's been interesting to see. And then, all my family members that have spent a lot of time on the farm, they either have an autoimmune disease or have had cancer or both.
Still blows my mind to hear it like firsthand from somebody,
And I only spent the first 6-7 years of my life on the farm, but was definitely exposed to these same chemicals. And with the work with the plant medicine, especially with the combo and the ayahuasca and these more purgative medicines, they've very much shown me that what I've dealt with as far as health issues have been directly related to that. And luckily, I don't suffer or haven't developed anything that's really in a huge way negatively impacted my life. But I've also got away from it. That as soon as I could, I then moved to Florida, went back to Minnesota for a year in my 20s, and also then I also felt my health kind of declining in that time. And then I moved out west to Colorado, very dry, mountainous area, which definitely has less exposure to these chemicals. And then coming here, where it doesn't make sense for people to spray or they just can't spray large amounts of glyphosate in these mountains in this lake basin. So I feel like we're in an extremely protected area as far as not having direct exposure. But it's it's a real scary part of this world, and of our food, and of our health and our nutrition, and it's also big. So it's one of these things that I want to create bigger change on, and it's also a daunting task of how big it is. So I've decided to start small, and my land's about 1 2/3 acres, and just creating a model of something different. And from that can be hopefully repeated through these mountains, and hopefully be repeated throughout. And we have a lot of beautiful permaculture people here in San Marcos, and from that it's being spread all throughout the world and into different countries. But how can we create models that can be replicated so that we don't destroy our earth?
Our mother.
Our mother. Yeah, our truest mother.
Yeah. Did I tell you that we've started an adventure on the top of the hill above Sunana?
Yeah. And it's so beautiful. Like, we have to start somewhere. And that's like the beautiful thing about trees is start planting trees. There's a longevity in that. And so many props to you for doing it as well. Reclaiming more of this earth as healthy land.
Thank you, man. It feels like an overwhelming adventure, except for the fact that I've got a partner who has been on this adventure before. But I think there's going to be a space for us to have a conversation and take a look at what you've already learned. We're at a different altitude up there, but I think there's probably lots of things that you've already learned that I'm sure we can deep dive into, and you can support us in as we start to find our way with this little project.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and the more knowledge, the more reflections that we can bring into it, the better. Because there's always going to be variables that are going to happen. There's going to be floods. There's going to be droughts. There's going to be different things that happen, and we just have to create systems that can have some type of resilience. And trees. I mean, trees. These plants that aren't just one and done. Like, crops are nice and we need them to feed populations in the billions. But how can we plant trees that are medicinal? How can we plant trees that give us food? How can we create these systems that need to be taken care of, but that live on? I'm a big proponent of adopting trees as our teachers.
Share a moment from your past when you hit a bottom, like a real time when you needed to level up and pick yourself back up. What was that story, and what were the things that supported you in that time?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit already, but it was 2012, 2013. I had recently finished university, had followed the path that wasn't completely chosen for me, but I felt like was the one that felt right. Of like, go to college and do what you're good at, and I've always been good with numbers. So it was just like, okay, but do something where you're going to make money, and you're going to be able to turn it into something. So I studied accounting and went into public accounting. So I started working as a public accountant. I was married at the time, and her and we moved to Orlando, Florida for a job, and it didn't take long for my health to start to decline. That's sitting in front of a computer for 50, 60, 70 hours a week doing these tax returns and doing this accounting work, that my health and my happiness and my ability to be in stress dissolved. And I'm not that I don't weigh that much now, but I was about 20 pounds less than I am now, and just fading fast. And it was a real bottom. And my partner, my wife at the time, she was like, I can't do this anymore. This sucks. And so we got divorced and separated.
Because of your health, or just the combination of everything?
Combination that, like, I wasn't happy. It wasn't there. That put a lot of stress on the relationship, that and it just collapsed. And so I was left in this place of like, wow, okay, I just went to school for 5 years to be this thing. I have just put 4 years of my life into this relationship, and they're both falling away very quickly. I'm like, I can't continue to live like this. And then knowing my dad's trajectory and his health and his life, it was really scary. I was like...
So you're aware of that at that point. You're seeing your life unfolding, and you're looking like...
Yeah. Am I going to die earlier than my dad did? Like, and really being scared and just not knowing what to do. And not fully having any like tools or support. It's in my early 20s, and luckily I, within the Western medical model and these doctors I was seeing, I went and saw this psychologist that didn't do. She would only see people like for a couple times. It wasn't like a ongoing therapist, but she would. I don't know, magically like redirect people's lives. And she was this small Chinese woman, just like with this like very powerful but like compact energy. And she told me to meditate and pushed me.
Sorry, how do you find this woman inside the Western medical complex? So she shows up.
She just shows up as like a guardian angel. Honestly, at this point, I don't even remember what her name is, but like I can see her very vividly. And she put me on to John Kabat-Zinn, a meditator and a Buddhist monk, and it was like, find him on YouTube and just like listen to what he has to say. And I started, I was just like, yes, like I will, whatever you say, like I need nothing else is working. And she pushed me onto him, and then that helped me start to manage the stress. And then through some of his videos, he started talking about yoga, and I was just like, okay, maybe I should go do yoga. And one Sunday morning, I find this yoga studio that was close to the apartment that I was living at. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take this yoga class. And they had a deal where it was $40 for 40 days. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this. And I took more than 40 classes in those 40 days. There's some days that I would show up twice, even if just to show up. And it was a heated yoga. So I started to sweat, and that started to, regenerate, and just started to move some of the stagnant energy that was being built up in my body, sitting at a computer and feeling weak and feeling very low energy or low ability, and just low overall in my psyche. And then from that place, by the end of those 40 days, I was like, I got to quit my job. There's no way that I'm going to like try to carry on. So April 15th, tax day in America of 2013, I that was my last day in public accounting. And from there, I dissolved the rest of what was my life in Orlando and did some traveling to just get some more clarity. And then after I got back from 2 months in Europe, I was back in Minnesota, and I was like, I'm going to go do a yoga teacher training and continue to practice yoga. And from that, I started teaching yoga, moved to Colorado. After teaching yoga, I was like, oh, I need to learn body work. I'm touching people. I'm receiving some healing at this point through some touch and body work. I need to learn this as well, just in this path of wanting to continue to heal from that place of touching that rock bottom and being like, I never want to go back there. Like, how do I turn my journey into this healing journey? And from massage school, then I found out about Rolfing. I'd never heard about Rolfing. And then, from Rolfing, I found out about San Marcos. Somebody in my class led me to San Marcos. And, from that place, started to work with ayahuasca. And then, next week, I fly to Peru to go into the Amazon to take another step into this healing journey. But it was really all from that point that, feeling my health, feeling that scare of like, am I going to die young? Like, am I, like, how much time do I have on this earth if I continue to do this? And luckily, getting the direction and the sparks along the way to be like, no, I need to be here. I have purpose, and excited to see where it's going to take me.
Before I ask you where it's going to take you, you and I have had conversations before coming on air here around cannabis. Share your relationship with cannabis and how it's been for you. The good, the bad, all of it.
Cannabis, definitely my first plant medicine that I worked with. Cannabis has been such an ally for a lot of my life. In my teenage years, I drank a good amount, and through university as well, and now through my time with ayahuasca, realizing that I only drank as a purgative to try to purge these things out of my body, but it became a point where that didn't feel good, and cannabis felt like a much easier, softer medicine that also worked with me and worked with my body and worked with my worked with me in a better way. And when I was healing my gut and healing my body through this most recent story I just told, and especially when I moved to Colorado, cannabis was a huge medicine, and I really thought like, wow, this is helping me at times eat, helping me at times ease some of the pain, ease some of the digestive issues that I was going through, and really was an ally. But as I've gotten further along on my path, I've had moments where I've questioned, like, is this actually still helping me? What am I using this for? Like, I don't struggle with the digestive issues that I did then, and I have been able to clean and cleanse and clear my body in so many ways. So, not needing it, but still loving the relationship with her. And I think that in the most recent years, like, that's been a challenge, that I've had an ongoing 15-year relationship with her. And then in these last years, seeing the challenges that it's brought in, and in the most recent relationship that I've been in, it's brought in other issues of presence, or of wanting to smoke cannabis, and how that's taken me away from being able to meet from the most authentic, vulnerable, present place. And
so that looks like you're with your partner, but you're smoking cannabis, and it brings you into that experience with a different version of you.
Yeah, a different version of me. Also, just just also the version of me that wants to focus on me. Because I think that's what I've used her for in so many ways, that cannabis has allowed me to tap into myself, feel myself, heal myself from that very like loving feminine place. But from that place, it's hard to go inward and then also be extremely present with what's right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that's caused friction in my relating, and has had been a challenge to completely cut out of my life. And yeah, I think when we talked the other day, we were talking about how it brings us to our inner maiden, and how that there's something, yeah, there's just something really nice about that place, and really soft, and like, oh, I'll be in my feminine from that really soft, sweet, feminine place. I can love myself so much, but from that place, are we actually cutting ourselves off from being loved by another? And yeah, always wanting to cultivate that self-love place from self, but then how do we receive that bigger love from another if we can't be present with it? So in the last 2 months, I've really been reevaluating my relationship with cannabis. I did a 7-day dieta with a tree called Bobinsana, which was a heart-opening plant. And it's brought me into a new realization that I also, smoked cannabis to stimulate my lungs, to stimulate my heart, to feel loved, to feel... to just feel that presence of love. But that experience with Bobinsana has brought me into a new mentality of, is there something better? Is there something that can allow me to meet the other and meet the world with an open heart, without having to use something that I don't know how to use outwardly, where it really takes me to that inner place. So it's been a dance, but I haven't smoked in 2 months, and it's felt really good. Again, the trees. Bobinsana is a really beautiful tree that grows in the Amazon, and is used in unison with ayahuasca in a lot of ways, but opens the heart, opens the voice in a different way. And I don't want to bash cannabis, because it was so important to me, and it's what has been accessible. It's like, even alcohol, when it was in my life, it's like that was what was accessible. Mm-hmm. And then cannabis was what is accessible. And luckily, in places in the United States now, other medicines are becoming more accessible. And and then on this journey now, I'm exploring what other medicines, what other trees, what other plants are out there to bring deeper healing. Really believing that the trees and the plants are here to heal us. That as we work with the earth to plant the trees and the plants, there's healing. As we consume the plants and the trees, there's healing. And how can we come back to these most essential parts and laws and relationships to nature?
Do you think there's a way for us to journey on these paths without plants? Like, does it feel like you've switched one for the other? Like the Bobinsana is now a replacement for where cannabis has left a hole in your experience, or is it supportive? Like, how do you hold those?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's paths that we can step away from the plants, but we're always consuming something unless we're like fully restricting things from our lives. But even just with our foods and our teas, and so I think there's always the question of like, how strong do you need your plants to be, or your medicines to be. And the truth is I think we live in a very sick world. So I'm not afraid to use strong medicines and make the changes that I feel like I want to make in my world, in my life, to have that be reflected out into the world. So even if you're drinking your chamomile tea to calm down, I still feel like it's we're using plants to alter our consciousness. Yeah, I only was using Bobansana for a week, so I feel like there are titrated experiences where you can use something for a shorter period of time and not have to use it daily or continuously, and still, like, I still feel the presence of her flowers and of her as a tree in my being. So there are plants that are very strong, that once you use them, they don't leave the fabric of your being and of your soul. And I feel like ayahuasca is that same way. And then there's the question of, how often do we use them? Can we just use them once and then get everything that we need from them? Or is it like a constant relationship? Or does it become a way of life? And in some parts of the world, some of these things are ways of life, and some can argue that those people are living much more in communion with their land and with the earth. And so definitely things that I ponder and contemplate, but again, I feel the sickness of this earth, so I'm not afraid to be a vessel for healing, and allow my path to open it up to others, even if somebody else through my experience only goes and tries it once, but it can make a positive impact on their life. I think that's beneficial, no matter how many experiences I have.
What is a call to courage in your life at the moment? What's something you feel like you're being called to step up to?
Yeah, I think in all of this, it's developing my, like my inner masculine and the layers of it, and in these ways of how I can show up as an embodied masculine in the world, that for the world in general, for the people I come in contact to, for the relationships that I'm in, for myself. But I think it's from this place of wanting to do it differently, and really seeing how I show up and what example I set for this world. I think as like direct examples of how that's showing up, I think always with my land project, I work with a 22, about to be 23-year-old Mayan guy who hasn't had healthy examples in his life of masculine. So I think he's one of my best mirrors on how I show up in integrity, to show him and be an example for him to walk a good a good path and to give respect to the feminine and to the earth. So I feel like in a way that's kind of come back to that first question of how do I show up as a father. I feel like there's an element in that of how I can come into who I am as a man to then show and be there for other men that need examples on how to do it.
So practically, what is that? What are your steps to support you on that path? What's next? How do you what's supporting you on that journey?
Yeah. Well, I took part in your men's circle last week, which was really powerful. It's
a loaded question.
That was, a really beautiful experience, really powerful experience to just be vulnerable around other men. And so I think there's pieces for me in that of showing up, showing up for other men, whether it's in a group of other men trying to do the same, whether it's showing up for younger men that need guidance and assistance and help along the journey. Also just educating, being a student, being a forever student. I feel like that's a big part for me, is just the continued learning. So reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos, listening to people that I do respect talk, like giving them the space to embody themselves and just being in the presence of it. But putting myself out there in front of people that I respect. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I like how you're doing it. But yeah, I feel like it's newer on my path. So still trying to find those resources. I think that I think it's, we need more of it. There's not enough safe spaces for men to gather and to be vulnerable and to figure out what it is to be a man and going into 2023
as we sit here on the last day of the year. So tell me, you're going to the jungle for a couple of weeks, and what do you see unfolding in your life in 23 and the coming years? What's exciting for you at the moment?
I'm heading into the jungle for a 14-day dieta, and I'll be back in Guatemala at the end of January. And then after that, I have no clue what is the next steps. One of my teachers encouraged us to find a word that will really be our intention, or in essence that we're trying to cultivate. And mine is faith, and just trusting that it's going on almost 10 years of trusting my path. And I feel like I'm at a part where I'm like, but shouldn't there be more structure or more forward looking? Shouldn't I have 3, 5, 10-year goals and plans that I'm like moving towards? And when I tap into that, I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I kind of have an idea in those places, but they're not concrete. So my word is faith, and just trusting the universe, trusting this path, that everything that I've done to cultivate myself as I sit here today, is enough. That even if everything that I've created dissolves and I lost everything, that I have created enough within me that I could pick myself back up from that place and walk forward. and figure it out. So yeah, having faith, and that's always been a hard thing for me to cultivate, is because it brings up so much like religion connotations. So I want to embody this essence that I trust whatever the guiding force of this universe that's put me here, and that is helping guide me forward, and that it's gonna work out.
That's true freedom, to get to the place of genuinely surrendering and knowing that you're always supported and you're always guided and looked after.
Yeah.
Because the other seems to be a trap, like some sense of having to keep moving to stay alive. And I think it's the doing that creates, kind of a lot of anxiety for me specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to create, I want to do, I don't want to just sit and twiddle my thumbs, but yeah, I don't also want that pressure of, if I'm not doing, there's something wrong with me, or so we'll see what's in store for 2023 for you.
So my word for the year is unapologetic. And I've been dancing with the word because a lot of my work and what I've been thinking about over the last few years is the construction of narrative and dialogue and how that unfolds into our reality. And I'm aware that the negative of a specific thing is still the thing. So in terms of reality creation, if you want to create a healthy life, you don't say, I want to be unsick. You say, I want to be well. Mm-hmm. But I haven't quite found the word that sums up unapologetic for me in a way that embodies what it is that I'm trying to lean into for the next year. And I think we spoke a little about this, but it's and I've spoken about it on the show before as well. There's a little bit of me that's still holding myself back, I would say. Some part of me that's not quite giving myself permission to step in to full leadership, full power, full creative process and power in terms of what I feel like I'm being called to do.
Yeah.
The unapologetic part of me is still tending other people's feelings. I don't know what it is. It's like some story that's still running about being concerned that I might upset somebody else, or that the work that I'm doing may trigger somebody, and I notice that's holding me back, not only there, but also it's showing up in a few places in my life. And I feel like this is not for me to get to a place to excuse myself if I've done something wrong and not to apologize, because I don't have that problem. I apologize too much. For me, it's really about recognizing that I don't have to, I can live unapologetically, like I can be me, I can show up for who I am. If I step on someone's toes or I upset somebody along the way and I've been out of my own integrity, I will apologize, and for sure that's what it is. Yeah. But for me, it's really giving myself permission to move into this next phase. And I think where there's a part of me holding myself back, it's created some anxiety where part of me wants to go. The soul's got a mission that it wants to share at the moment. That's in men's work, the fathers, sons, brothers community, this podcast, the men's circle that you were a part of. Yeah, I've been slow to give myself permission to do it. I said yes, and then I stalled for a while, hiding behind this sort of apologetic version of myself that's not ready to quite step in. So yeah, that feels like it for 23 for me. I'm very much going to be here, grounded in Guatemala. We've got some travel plans, but for the rest, I'm going to be here and focus on this creation and the work that I'm doing with men. And grateful that you're a part of it. Thank you, brother. Yeah, we need more people that aren't scared to be their full authentic self and gather people, and still if we step out of integrity or we hurt somebody, we're able to unapologetically apologize, be like, okay, that was me learning who I am, and in that I'll say sorry that it affected you in this way. But so thank you for the work that you do. It's even from the sidelines, it's been wow, okay, I appreciate that, and it hasn't been until these last weeks that we've dropped in a deeper sense. But
it's important what you're doing.
Thank you, bro. So before we get out of this drop-in, where can people connect with you? Where's a good place to find out about your adventures and what you're busy with?
Yeah, Instagram. Cool. In this day and age, C Staub Dream. The farm project is Kalush Cape. Kalush is Carl or Carlos in the Mayan language here. Mm-hmm. So Kalux, and then Cape is coffee in Mayan. Kape. So that you can follow the farm project from there. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about Rolfing, carlotherolfer.com. And yeah, I encourage everyone out there to go get Rolfed. So there are many Rolfers all throughout the world. So if you're struggling with anything in your body or being and you're like, I want help, check out Rolfing. And if you're ready to start working with the earth, go out there and plant something, even if it's just in a planter. Put some seeds in the earth, or get some plants for your house and start cultivating more plants.
Thank you, brother. It's been beautiful to share this time with you. And I think for me, what is so important is recognizing that the healing journey that we're all on, collectively as a planet, as a species, doesn't actually start anywhere out there. Like it's something that's cultivated within. And there's nothing else that we need to do except to look inside and continually accept and integrate all these versions of ourselves. And when that starts to happen, life, community, relationships, and the earth will start to come into harmony again as we start to heal from within. And so honoring your journey, thank you for sharing it, and thank you for sharing your gifts through Rolfing to support others and the work that you're doing with the earth, brother. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Much love, bro. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too, bro. Cheers.